day, beautiful people of Nigeria. Welcome to today's edition of Tech Vibes. I'm excited to bring you today's edition, and welcome to the show today. Yeah, you can follow us on all our social media platforms on Facebook, which is Lagoon Radio Nigeria, and on Twitter and Instagram which is Lagoonradio.Ng. Then you can watch us live on our YouTube channel, which is Lagoon.TV. And for more information, please check on our website, which is Lagoon.News. And I'm your host, Odo Emmanuel, streaming live from our Marina Studios. Welcome to today's edition of Tech Vibes. Yeah, today we'll be looking at random news, basically things happening all over the world. And of course, we'll be starting with Nigeria. Lately, a lot of news have been going around with. Let me start with Lagos State government thinking of reopening the toll gates at Lekki Ikoyi Link Bridge. And so it said it will be starting by first day of April, which is the first 2 weeks will be free for them to test their technologies and ensure that everything is working perfectly before they roll out. So for me, I think at least they should. Well, we understand that people have invested money into these things, and then there's a need for return on investment. But I think they should think twice because of the economic impact and the cost implication of opening these tolls. Um, so that's just it for that. So today we'll be looking at random things, technology news, innovations, new things that have been coming up lately, basically. So I have this information here. You see, I did a bit of research on the country rankings in terms of innovation. So there's this index ranking that helps, you know, the index was published in March 2009 to rank the countries that's okay. The study measured both innovation inputs and outputs. Innovation inputs included governments and their fiscal policies, education policy, and innovation environment. The output includes the patents they've had in the country. Technology transfer, being able to transfer technology from one form to another. Then another thing is the R&D in terms of research and development, the results they've been able to achieve, in terms of results, in terms of business performance, such as labor productivity and total shareholder returns, and the impact of the innovation on business migration and economic growth. These are some of the key factor indicators that we use, to measure this growth. And so this list here that I have is just a list of um, at least like the 20 topmost 20 largest countries as measured by their GDP. So this is okay, by their International Innovation Index. So I start with South Korea is number one on this list. Sometimes you wonder why South Korea, why not America? You see, some of these Southern Asian countries are very, very innovative. They spend a country like South Korea, you know, they are so technology driven to the extent that Americans, I think they are. I won't say they are learning from them, but they are far, far, far ahead, in terms of these qualities that I just mentioned. Some of these key indicator factors, like the educational policies, innovational environment, their patents, technology transfer, the R&D, the result and development, the research and development. So basically business performance. In terms of how they run the operations. So here we have South Korea as the number one most ranked country in the world in terms of innovation performance, and it's at 1.92. Mm, yeah, innovation inputs is like that's the ranking in terms of percentage, 2.74. Then overall they're like 2.33. On this list, we have Japan, thirdly, America, followed by China. Then we have France, we have Canada, then followed by the United Kingdom, Germany, Netherlands, Australia. We have Spain, we have Belgium, we have Italy, we have Sweden, Russia, Mexico, and Indonesia. We have Turkey, Spain, and Brazil. It's unfortunate that Nigeria is not on this list because I don't think Nigeria is an innovative country, despite the fact that we have all the best brains in the world. We have all that it takes to be, on this list. But due to lack of focus on our government, they don't want to focus more on. They don't want to focus on education. They don't want to focus on things that will bring growth to the economy. Rather, they're just thinking about their pockets and what they will get at the end of the day. So they have their own selfish and ulterior motives. So countries who are smart thinking are like really helping themselves grow in terms of investing into uh, the human capacity. Being able to invest more to block the knowledge gap and to be able to compete globally in terms of, okay, just check out what is panning out within Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine is actually fighting back, despite the fact that Russia has all it takes, to be able to, crush them. I was even thinking that as sophisticated as Russia is, that the war in between Ukraine and Russia wouldn't even last more than a day. But as it seems now, it's like, Ukraine is actually fighting back, with all that they've got. And I'm sure Russia will be so surprised because, you know, what actually costs money and what has come to play, it has to do with technology. Who has the most, smartest device? Who has, you know, here you come to see technology at play. People have invested a lot of money in terms of research and development to produce, crazy solutions. In as much as war is not good, but you need to defend your territory. So this is where you find people who have really done their due diligence in terms of investing money into their defense systems. I was going through a video today, and I saw how Israel is spending a lot of money in terms of developing laser beams, that can shoot down any nuke or any kind of threat that is coming into their space. And these things can detect, with the help of the radar, it can detect incoming nuclear arsenals, then any bomb that is coming into their country. So they are trying to reposition themselves, and the laser beam is actually cheaper than their doom system that helps them protect them from attacks from their neighboring countries. They are surrounded with Israel is like one country surrounded with enough enemies across board. So they've been able to develop. They are spending a lot of money in terms of R&D research to build new technologies, new devices. Spending billions of dollars in terms of research to be able to come up with scalable solutions that will be cheaper for them and that will help them fight any kind of threat that's coming into them. So these are countries who are thinking smartly and who are actually repositioning themselves. Because the truth be told, if we don't take time, this Russia-Ukraine war might metamorphose into a full-scale third world war. And what does it mean? It means that there's going to be global shortage of oil. It means that there's going to be, currently as we speak, these wars started affecting food price globally. That started affecting a lot of things in terms of electronic gadgets, in terms of hardware, in terms of a whole lot. So in as much as that's why everybody prays not to go into war, but in as much as it's not even directly affecting us now, but indirectly the adverse effect is much because it's going to affect the entire global oil trade. It's going to affect a lot of things in terms of technological, like finance. Now, for instance, the SWIFT system, which Russia uses to transfer their oil money, from transfer of oil sales from other countries back to them, they were yanked off the platform, and which created a vacuum from them. So, but for me, I think it's not ideal, despite the fact that I don't support Russia invading Ukraine. Try to stop global trade with, or try to limit them, or try to sanction them in terms of them not using the SWIFT platform opens another paradigm for them, because it means they need to now start, improvising and looking for other means for them to be able to create their own solutions whereby they can actually transfer those monies, or as a medium. Either they might even decide to use blockchain as a medium for them to be able to, transfer their fiat, sorry, not fiat this time around, but virtual currency, which they've earned from the sale of their oil. So, in as much as it's like, for me, it's a blessing in disguise for them, because it means that I heard that they and China have started partnering to build a platform where they can actually use, which means invariably they are trying to reduce the dominance of America as the superpower, So, and even sorry, this is not a news for war, but what I'm trying to pinpoint all these things is because it still affects technology. This is where technology comes in, because the war itself, is being fought with tools that are driven by technology. So, in as much as these things are happening, there are effects. In as much as you think you are going to yank them off, or you're going to stop all those things, it's an avenue for them to build their own solution. And for instance, China has one of the largest population in the world, over 1 billion people. So if China and Russia, who are like two strong powers, decide to have their own payment platform, of course, other players too will come in. So what I was trying to say before I digressed was, Saudi Arabia is already thinking of, selling their oil in yen, which means they are dropping the use of dollar. It means, so if they decide to, imagine if they decide to use their own payment platform to transfer, money from one point to another, and other countries start to adopt yen as the current trading money globally. It means that's the end for America. Once people start to trade globally with Chinese yen, it means that's the downfall. That is going to be the end of America, because every other company, every other country will follow suit. Because why I'm saying this is that almost every country is solely dependent on China for one or two things, from clothing to hardware to mobile devices to, so many things. So if there's much dependency on a particular country to produce your goods and services for you, and they are now officially using their currency as a means of trade, it means that's the end for, the superpower like America, despite the fact that they're trying to fight back. But, with the way the trend is, or the tide is, it means, everything is not working in favor of America right now as we speak. So technology-wise, even globally, there's a tech shortage of hardware semiconductors currently. And why it's going to hurt America most is because America does not have silica. Silica is only found in places like China and maybe some of those Southern Asian countries and some Asian countries. And so, which is going to affect them a little lot. Imagine how much it will cost them to, create devices, or all those devices they've been invented, and they've invested a lot of money. For instance, your iPhone, your iCloud, and all those devices like your Tesla cars and the likes. It means that people are going to pay premium for that. So if the Tesla car originally was like $100,000, because of the high demand and the low shortage of the sensors and the semiconductors, it means it's going to affect business generally. Because if, for instance, those devices were bought at maybe $2 and now it's sold for $5, it means that naturally there'll be an increment. There'll be increments in terms of pricing for all those products and services. So that's for that. Basically this period, a lot of people have started doing innovative things, and people have started looking inwards and in ways to solve real-time problems, in ways to be able to, find a way to be able to protect our ecosystem. Because if we find out that we generate a whole lot of waste on a daily basis, even on the streets of Lagos, you find out, especially when it's raining, you find out a lot of people pour their dumps into the gutters, which makes it most time blocks. And if you see the number of waste we generate on a daily basis in this country, it's very alarming. Not talk about the global impact in terms of waste generation on a daily basis. And since plastics are not biodegradable, they can't decompose naturally on their own. It becomes an epidemic if it cannot be transformed from one form to another, maybe reused or whatever at some point to get fucked out and it will be dumped. And if there's no way to be able to you know rejig these things, it becomes a problem. It becomes an epidemic of its own. So I'm going to be looking at startups that have been doing innovative things too, or companies who have been, trying to find a way to solve real time natural problems. Um, so there are so many people who have gone into recycling, looking for new innovative ways of doing things. Like for instance, we have the Reprieve. Reprieve transforms recycled bottles into amazing fiber, okay, into an amazing fiber used by the world's leading brands to make athletic and fashionable apparels. And you know, these guys have taken this thing a step further. So rather than throwing away your plastic bottles, all those wrappers, the nylons that we have, the polythene bags that we have, these guys are thinking out of the box and transforming those things into wearables. You know, fashionable clothes that are very appealing and achieve. Sorry, at they are at a very low cost price because they are made of plastics and they've been able to recycle them to become, with the help of technology, these things are made things very very easy to wear, and they are very durable because since they are plastic, sorry, being able to convert plastic into something that is wearable means it's going to be durable and it's going to last for a very long time because it's just plastic, like I rightly said. Then there's these guys who are so creative in terms of they've looked at ways at which we can even generate electricity at a very cheaper and affordable rate. The world is becoming so sophisticated that we don't need to solely depend on Nigerian power grid. Like for instance, what has just happened, what has just panned out for like couple of days now over the week, where we had a power grid collapsed like three times within the week, and you know what that means. You know what that means to businesses, people who solely depend on this the lights for their daily source of income, their livelihood. A lot of companies who solely depend, not solely per se, but you know, they depend on the electricity that the governments, the our dams generate. So imagine, if do you know how many millions or billions that would have been lost due to um, the inavailability of light? A lot of companies would have run into loss because it means they need to now run diesel to be able to, especially the manufacturing aspect of companies who solely depend on light to be able to manufacture their products. So it means there will be so much dependency on diesel, and as the same problem with diesel became very expensive over the week too. So this, why I'm just digressing a bit is, imagine if we had minimal ways of generating our own electricity. So rather than depending on, you know, uh, the power grid, or depending on government to supply us light, and depending solely on diesel, and so there are other alternative form of electricity that we can actually start thinking in line with. And there are so many companies who are already solving these problems. who are already seeing this niche and they are actually making headway around it. So we have these guys called the urban wind tires. This is like a kind of a B2C kind of business. They have been able to find a way to, rather than having conventional trees lying around your compounds within your environment, they have this turbine winds, placed in form of trees, so redesigned and reshaped like a tree, which can, be sitting in front of your house or wherever. So this, rather than just having a conventional tree that just, will just be there and it will just be occupying space, these turbines designed to look like trees can be placed in your homes. So the beautiful thing about this thing is, they are okay. So you have your normal tree, your conventional wind turbines that are very, very ugly, large, and often so noisy. So, but with this kind of technology, the new wind, as it's called, they want to change the way the normal wind tree is. And yeah, at this point, we'll go on a very short break. When we come back, we'll continue with this.
This is Lagoon Radio.
Yeah, welcome back to Tech Vibes, and I'm still your host, Odo Emmanuel. So please follow us on all our social media platform, and of course, you can follow us on Facebook, which is Lagoon Radio Nigeria, and on Twitter and Instagram, which is Lagoonradio.Ng. Yeah, you can watch us live on our YouTube channel, which is Lagoon.TV. And we've been looking at a lot of things. We've talked about how people are actually reinventing the wheels rather than having a conventional way of doing things. This new approach of generating, or let me say, an alternative to electricity. Being able to build solutions that are tailored to small homes that can help people actually generate light, to help them power their appliances rather than focusing on the power grid that keeps on failing at every point in time. So there are a lot of innovative companies who have been looking at ways of trying to solve this problem, because power is a general problem. There are so many countries, especially if you're staying off in an off-grid area whereby maybe the national power grid doesn't get to those points. You can actually have alternative to electricity. So of course there are so many means to getting alternative to electricity. We have the solar, we have the turbine winds, we have wind energy, we have all different forms of electricity. But sometimes these things come at a very high cost because of the cost of the infrastructure, So it comes at a very premium price. A lot of families or homes can't even afford some of these things. And another thing is durability, because even some of the solar panels that I see sometimes don't even last long enough to be able to serve its purpose. I don't know, maybe the kind of things they ship over here, they are like so substandard that at times in fact, even some of our street lights that are powered with solar panel, at most they work 2-3 months and they are off, they stop working. So there are so many ways which we can actually generate electricity. So these guys have been able to build something called the aero leaves. It's a tree leaf-like blade that that rotates. Essentially, it's like a micro wind turbine. It works at a speed as low as 4.5 miles per hour. So regardless of the wind direction, they are so silent, and so they could theoretically be installed alongside buildings, streets, even people's backyards. Each tree range, well, is a bit expensive though. But the beautiful thing is it can generate up to 13,000 kilowatts annually, and like 3,005 kilowatts per hour. So it's very essential. It's economical, and it saves you a whole lot of stress, especially in third world countries like Nigeria here, whereby electricity supply is something that is we can't continue talking about it because it has become something that is that's come to stay with us. I don't know why we can't even, after spending trillions of naira to revamp our electricity, to increase efficiency in terms of electricity supply, we are still lagging in that space. So I think an alternative to electricity is the way to go. We look for other means, other mediums to be able to generate these things at a cheaper and affordable rate. The other thing I want to talk about is there's this guy is called Eli Eli Cozy. It's an eco-friendly homes. So while we've been talking about generating electricity, generating technology in all forms, trying to disrupt things, there are so many people who have started disrupting. So across Africa, we still have a lot of problems in terms of housing, infrastructural decay, neglect by our governments. Most times they don't focus on that. Theirs is just to get money, embezzle it, and go out of this country and start investing those money or stack those money somewhere else, which they might never spend. Even their children yet unborn will never even spend. Even their great grandchildren might not even have access to such monies again. We know a lot of past leaders who have stacked money out of this country, and yet still till tomorrow we're still retrieving those monies. So rather than so there are a lot of innovative ways people are thinking out of the box. A lot of companies are building smart homes, smart ovens, smart TVs, smart everything is becoming technology driven, and it's becoming um, cheaper, affordable, and it's it has become so essential that we have some of these things. So there's this company called Eco Capsule. Okay, it's a smart home, a smart sustainable micro unit home which utilizes solar, wind energy. Okay, it allows you to stay in a remote place where there's no light, which is even maybe is out of reach of infrastructure. So it has this kind of luxury hotel-like room. So these capsules are okay. It's designed to be independent, and it's portable. It's help you. So if you decide that okay, you want to become a landlord of your own, but um, such things would be ideal in remote environments. I don't think in urban cities like this you'll be able to use things like this because there's no space everywhere. So jam packed and so filled with to the brim that you barely have space to put things like this. But this would be ideal for remote environments where you can actually go off the grid and do your own thing, especially for researchers who want just to live an isolated life, want to be away from the normal urban kind of settings, and they want to just go remote and do things on theirs maybe, and just want to live a secluded life. So tools like this help you achieve such a thing. Since it's self-sufficient, it can generate its own light. It is affordable. It's everything you want in it. So there's this other company that have been doing something that's so wonderful and very very innovative, and I really want to talk about them. The name of the company is called Air Inc. So what they've been able to do is they realize that pollution is one of the major challenges of the world now as we speak. Everywhere is, especially when the urban cities are under constant, bad air due to high rate of pollutions from car emissions, generators, the large generators which some of these big industries use. So pollution has been a major issue in terms of our economy, in terms of almost everywhere globally. It's a big problem. That's why a lot of people have been clamoring for climate change, and a lot of attention has really been in that line, because of course we're depleting the ozone, and it's going to cost the world if we don't start working in line with that. So these guys have been able to think out of the box, and they've looked inwards, and they've been able to come out with a solution whereby you know they harness those polluted air, and somehow I don't know how to do it. So they harness the air, they kind of find a way to filter it, so, and mixed with some other chemicals. I don't know, they had a patent solution called Carlink, so they've been able to find a way to extract this air into a particular vacuum, process the air, and turn this thing into a normal ink, where you can actually use it to to write your markers. That's so disruptive, that's so innovative, and I really give kudos. I think it's worth mentioning, it's worth talking about when people do things that is actually solving problems in terms of reshaping the world, and helping humanity stay safe. I think it's something that is worth talking about, and is worth even looking at what they are doing. So those guys have been able to look inwards, and deeply, because this imagine if the whole earth is the air that we breathe in is totally polluted. So how do you expect us to breathe as humans? That means our lungs will soon pack up if urgent steps or urgent measures are not taken in line with this. And I know a lot of governments have started working on the CO2 emissions. In fact, some cities you don't even drive. That's why there's this push for driverless cars. Cars are driven with batteries, to reduce the emission rate in our society. In some states, there are level of cars that is permitted to drive, in some states, in some urban cities, so that it can reduce the emission rate. And then that's why I am still angry with some of these West African countries that open their borders for. In Nigeria, you have so many cars being smuggled into the country. You think we're doing ourselves good by bringing in all these so-called fairly used cars, aka Tokombo cars. You bring them into your countries. Meanwhile, over there, overseas, they're trying to phase out those cars, because they know the implication of all those things. When you have a society filled with polluted air, especially in a cosmopolitan city like Lagos, where you have a lot of cars, we have over like 1 million cars plying Third Milan Bridge on a daily basis. And you know what this means? These things generate a lot of, they emit carbon, which depletes our ozone. Unless our government starts to find a way to, reduce this level of emission, either by, importing buses that are eco-friendly, or they start to, buses that are driven by battery, not gas or PMS, or by, any other medium, but cars that are, battery driven. And once they're able to achieve that, they will enforce, a kind of law that will reduce cars, especially a lot of dead cars who ply the roads, cars that have bad engines, bad fuel, bad diesel, and I don't know. So if there's a way we can actually mitigate it, reduce it to a certain level, so that the level of emission can be reduced, and if we can start, reducing the way we use things like firewood, and increase the usage of gas and stuff like that, at least we can curtail the emission rate to a particular level, which will help us stay safe, and we're not burning out our ozone, because the aftermath effect of that is direct, rays from the sun, which will just burn off our skins, even though we have tough skins. But you know, these things can lead to a lot of things, cancer and the likes, skin cancer and the rest. So, but if we're able to mitigate things like this, it will make a whole lot of sense and to help save humanity. And so that's why I just made mention of it, because these are guys who are really, thinking in line to help, using the with the aid of technology to solve the air pollution problem. Um, there's these guys that I saw, and I think I became very intrigued with their thoughts, their thought process. There's this company called Pavegene Technology. This is a multifunctional custom flooring system. So what this does is, they are in form of tiles placed on the ground, but they are channeled to an electromagnetic kind of flux. So when people step on these tiles, their weight causes electromagnetic induction generators to vertically displace, which result into a rotary motion that generates off-grid electricity. So this electricity can actually power a full building. So imagine having tiles placed on the floor, in fact, in every part of your house. And once you step on them, these things generates as you step on them, they convert those, your weight that causes all those electric magnetic induction, and transform these into electric current, which makes a whole lot of sense. You see that people are even innovating, thinking of new ways. So rather than solely depending on the normal power grid, so this like an off-grid design. It's not even solar. It's not even powered by your batteries. It's not powered by the solar energy or the wind energy. So this is not powered by your turbines. This is a shared technology that helps people. It's very easy to use, very easy to integrate. So in your design building, when designing your house or your streets or any building, even hostels, school halls, and churches, this will help a lot in terms of developing your electricity strategy. So rather than investing more on diesel and generators, this is a very cheap, affordable, cost-effective strategy for people to be able to generate electricity off the grid. It's very easy to implement. It's very easy to install. This is just normal tiles that people will step on, just like the tiles in your house, in your bathroom, in just in your living room and everywhere you go to. So once this is being installed, this thing helps generate electricity, which saves a whole lot of money, cost, and so much dependence on the power grid. So like imagine if a church that has a very large auditorium, invest heavily on this, it would not just even help them save costs in terms of their operational cost, in terms of running their generator, you know, it will actually, reduce a lot of things. And, it will, firstly, it will reduce the cost of running your diesel engine. And secondly, it will help reduce the cost of carbon emission into the atmosphere. So if people can actually invest into this kind of off-grid technology to help a whole lot in saving humanity and saving cost for both yourself and your organization. So these are kind of like hybrid solutions that can help people actually save cost, you know see better ways of doing things rather than the conventional way of generating current solely depending on the grid or the power grid. So as the world moves, as we are evolving, technology is actually redefining or reshaping the way we think, the way we do things, the way we reposition ourselves. Technology is overseeing so many things. Like for instance, even churches these days have gone digital. The entertainment has gone digital. The likes of Facebook that has introduced the world or the virtual augmented reality or the mixed reality world, which is called the metaverse. You know, it the way we now communicate is becoming different. Though people say technology is making people more isolated because they are now personalizing themselves. Everybody is focusing their attention more on the social and sorry on their devices like your laptops, your mobile device, and so it's taking away that humanity of us. But I still think that technology still has a way to, enhance, human thinking and the way we do things. Because in as much as there are other defects, there are other disadvantages of having these tools, but it's still helping save life. Imagine if you have remote surgery, bots that can help, robots that can actually do surgeries real time. So imagine in an environment where, like for instance, remote environments where you have shortage of doctors, real medical doctors that can perform these surgeries. So imagine, just a picture, have this mental picture of, like, in every local government in Nigeria, we have a, a a medical center where people can actually go to. You know the numbers of lives that we're going to be saving. So when you have remote robots that can actually, you know, not just diagnose, carry out operations. So we have robot doctors who can actually do real time operations, who can actually do real time diagnosis without even the aid of a doctor. Once you stand in front of the robot, it can scan you to say, okay, these are the kind of ailments, or this is the ailments that you have in your body. And it can actually tell real time and give prefer solutions real time. So that's just one aspect of it. In terms of transportation, imagine what we can do to mitigate, like we've talked about the carbon emission. We've talked about, having too many vehicles on the road. So once we have flying drones, we have drones that can actually go and do delivery. You have less bikes on the road. We have scooters, a lot of things. You find less cars on the road that emit these things. We have battery-enabled cars. We have battery-enabled bikes, and that is not fossil fuel. So these are areas that technology can help actually redefine or change or actually innovate or disrupt, depending on what we're looking at. So it cuts across everywhere in your education. In terms of the way we learn now, we have alternative learning space whereby people can actually go online. In fact, I think in the next 15 years, the conventional schools will start phasing out. People will now start learning online. The online platform will now become the de facto way of people learning. I don't think people will be even moving around anymore. With the help of the metaverse world, so schools will now go virtually. Hospitals will go virtually. Okay, hospital will still need the physical building because people need to still go to the hospital to get diagnosed and get treated. But who says that we can't have robots deployed to your house to come and do your operation while you're sleeping in your bedroom? Who says that rather than going to a lab, we can have drones sent to your home to actually, examine you and, even deliver the drugs that you need, to take. So you don't need to even leave the comfort of your home again to get diagnosed, to get your treatment. So especially areas where there are emergencies, where before they drive you to the hospital, the person must have passed out. So when we have drones that are, pre-programmed or pre-designed to actually solve this kind of problems, it will it will save a whole lot of generational lives. Imagine remote areas, imagine accidents on the road whereby robots are sent there to pick up the person, real time and, take the person to the nearest hospital. Imagine the kind of problems we'll be solving. Imagine robots, delivering groceries, delivering fast foods, delivering um, all sorts of information. Imagine robots, giving you access to, good food, pick up, so the list is endless. There's so many things that technology can help us do or can actually help us reshape the way we think. So these are the areas where I think technology plays a vital role. So in every area, cut across, like I talked about the church, the virtual church thing. So look at the advent of COVID, whereby people couldn't go out. We had robots. Sorry, we had some cities, some advanced cities. We had robots, disinfecting the streets. Not in Nigeria though, because we don't have such tools. But in advanced worlds, in companies, countries who are innovation driven, people, the countries who are ready to do the right thing, who have taken technology to the next level, deployed robots on the streets to sanitize their streets, to disinfect everywhere. So at the point when I was watching particular news channel, and they were showing different countries how they were deploying robots to actually disinfect their streets. I was like, wow. And what we had in Nigeria was something I don't want to talk about. But we're not going to keep condemning. We'll keep creating, we'll keep talking about these things to sensitize our government to start looking inwards, start to develop strategies, real-time strategies. And we rightly said last week, our school curriculum needs to be updated. The way we don't put emphasis or don't place emphasis on our educational system, that is why we're lacking behind in terms of, because if our school curriculums have been updated to meet up with the global standard, I think 50% of our problems in this country would be solved, because once we have graduates who are ready, who are employment ready, who are ready to hit the road once they're out of school. In fact, they don't need to be out of school before they start actually making real impact. While you're at school, you can start developing solutions. You can start solving real time problems. So while you're graduating, you guys have already metamorphosed into maybe let's say a startup stage, but not as in that elementary startup phase. You can metamorphose from while you are still at school to become a company. So I think there has to be a lot of emphasis on entrepreneurship, helping people use technology to actually grow the economy in diverse ways. So that's just it. And so I think at this point, I will say a very big thank you to everybody that's listening to me today. Please follow us on all our social media platform, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and hopefully we'll see you same time next week again. I still remain your host, Odo Emmanuel, and this is Tech Vibes. Stay tuned.
This is Lagoon Radio.